So today we are going to discuss about pupillary abnormalities. So there are different types of pupillary abnormalities. We are going to discuss the important ones. First is absolute afferent pupillary defect. Afferent. These are the afferent pupillary defects. Means they will involve the afferent nerve. Which is the afferent nerve? Afferent nerve is optic nerve. And what is the efferent nerve? Efferent is oculomotor nerve. So now absolute afferent pupillary defect. First is absolute afferent pupillary defect is also called as total afferent pathway defect, and it is caused by complete optic nerve damage. As I have already told you that afferent nerve is optic nerve. So here complete optic nerve will be damaged. And so now let us suppose that the patient comes to us and we assume that the defect is in the right optic nerve. Okay. So on presentation, as the person is coming in daylight, so some amount of constriction will be there in the pupil, but both pupils will be equally constricted and are of same size. Okay, that is called as iso. Iso means same. So isochoria. Okay. Now if we throw light on the left side means which is the normal side. Okay. So now if you throw light on the left side, impulse will go and now both pupils will constrict. It is isochoria. Now if you throw light on the lesion side, means now if you are going to throw light on the right side, so here the optic nerve is damaged, it is completely damaged, so impulse will not go, both pupils will not constrict, and so in absolute afferent pupillary defect, the ipsilateral direct light reflex is absent. Ipsilateral means same side. Okay, so if lesion is in the right optic nerve, ipsilateral direct light reflex means light reflex in the right eye, it is absent. Contralateral means in the left eye, that will also be absent. Means if you throw light on the lesioned eye, light reflex in the same eye as well as in the opposite eye will be absent, but near reflex, that is the accommodation reflex, will be present, as it is not at all related to the optic nerve. So near reflex will be present, it will not be affected. Now next is relative afferent pupillary defect. Abhi we have discussed in the previous slides, we have discussed total afferent pupillary defect. Now we are discussing relative afferent pupillary defect. It is also called as Marcus Gunn pupil, and it is seen in partial optic nerve lesions like optic neuritis, retinal detachment, central retinal artery occlusion, central retinal vein occlusion. All these are partial optic nerve lesions. They won't affect optic nerve completely. Okay. What will happen here is because of partial optic nerve lesions, the optic nerve will easily get fatigued. The affected optic nerve will easily get fatigued. So for example, if the lesion is on the right side, on presentation, both pupils will be constricted isochoria, as the person will come in daylight to the OPD. Both pupils are constricted, little bit constricted, and they will be of same size, isochoria. Now if you throw light on the left side, which is the normal side, both pupils will constrict isochoria because that is normal side, it is normal optic nerve. Now if you throw light on the right side is the one which has partial optic nerve lesion. So if you repeatedly throw light in the swinging flashlight pattern. Swinging flashlight pattern means first you will throw light on the left side and you will slowly move the pen torch towards the right side and slowly again towards left side, then slowly again towards right side. That is called as a swinging flashlight pattern. So when you throw light on the right side, what happens is it will easily get fatigued. Okay, so now let us suppose the pen torch is on the left side. Left side is the normal side. As you will slowly bring the torch between both the pupils, now both the pupils are in dark and now they will begin to dilate. Now if you slowly move it towards the right eye, on reaching the lesion side, because of the fatigue of the optic nerve, the impulse for constriction will be weaker than the already present impulse for dilatation. So now what will you see is both the pupils are seen to dilate when light is thrown on the lesion side. This is known as paradoxical dilatation or pupillary escape phenomena. You understood what happened? That in a swinging flashlight pattern, when you put light on the left side, okay, both pupils constrict. Now you will slowly take it away and now it is between the two pupils, means in front of the nose you can see. Now the impulse is for dilatation, as both pupils are in dark, so both pupils will begin to dilate. Now if you slowly move it towards the right side, which is the lesion side, now the nerve is fatigued, so the impulse for constriction because of this pen torch is weaker than the already previous impulse was for dilatation. So both pupils will begin to dilate. So pupil has escaped. So this is called as pupillary escape phenomena or paradoxical dilatation. So next, another abnormality is Wernicke's hemianopic pupil. What happens in Wernicke's hemianopic pupil? Here the site affected is optic tract. So optic tract is affected. Now if you throw light on the side of visual loss, means for example if right side is affected, you throw light there, pupil will not constrict. Now if you throw light on the side where vision is present, then both pupils will constrict. Okay, this is Wernicke's hemianopic pupil. Okay, now we will discuss the efferent pathway defect. First is Argyll-Robertson pupil. Where is the lesion here? Here lesion is in rostral midbrain or posterior commissure. And the cause can be neurosyphilis, tabes dorsalis or aortic regurgitation. You have to remember these causes. So you can remember the what happens in this defect, you can remember with the help of a mnemonic. Mnemonic is PRAARP. PRA means pupillary reflex absent, that light reflex is absent, and ARP means accommodation reflex present. PRAARP, pupillary light reflex absent, ARP is accommodation reflex present. So now we will discuss it in detail, okay, how this happens, but you have to remember this with the help of this mnemonic, then you will not forget. Pupil will not constrict here with pilocarpine and dilates poorly with atropine. I'll tell you the mechanism, how this happens. See, pupil is here, pupil will always be constricted. As we have seen in previous slide, no, pupil will not constrict with pilocarpine, means it is already constricted, and it dilates poorly with atropine. Even if you put atropine, pupil will not dilate, so it will always be constricted. That is called as meiosis. Here the lesion is in the rostral midbrain. It will damage the supranuclear inhibitory fibers to Edinger-Westphal nucleus. Inhibitory fibers to Edinger-Westphal nucleus will be damaged. Okay, and because of which Edinger-Westphal nucleus will keep on releasing. Since the inhibitory fibers to Edinger-Westphal nucleus are damaged, now it will keep on functioning. Nobody is inhibiting it. So it will keep on releasing the parasympathetic impulses to sphincter pupillae. And because of this continuous release of these parasympathetic impulses, the pupil will remain constricted and it will not dilate even in dark. Okay, this is efferent pathway defect. An example of it is Argyll-Robertson pupil. It is very important. Okay. For example, if the lesion is in the rostral midbrain, it will damage the supranuclear inhibitory fibers. Those fibers are inhibiting the Edinger-Westphal nucleus. Edinger-Westphal nucleus will be inhibited, so now it will keep on releasing the impulses, the parasympathetic impulses, and it will lead to constriction of the pupil because of those impulses. So pupil will be permanently constricted. It will not dilate. Okay. Thank you.